Transition, Orienteering the Lands of Succession. This is the second of the 4 introductory sessions into transition, just to give you a sense of what it involves and the tasks you need to undertake. In the first presentation, I spoke to transition as a general topic and gave you a sense of who it applies to, why it is important, and what it involves. In the second session, we dig in a little bit deeper. We're going to look at the guiding principles of succession. There are 9 guiding principles, 8 core principles, 1 overarching principle. We're just going to look at each one and just see what actually is a guiding principle and what it means. These are signposts, these are benchmarks, these are guiding principles. These will help you understand the way you should journey through the succession process, the things which you need to get right to make sure it's successful. So let's begin to look at these principles and just see what they are and what messages they carry for us. We're going to refresh our minds on that topographical map which you saw before, and then we're going to pull out the guiding principles which are actually embedded in each one of the lands, but we'll just look at them in total for this introductory one. So there is our topographical map. Again, refreshing our mind, there is a starting point, there is goals, family, legacy, wealth, business and decisions. So the guiding principles gives us some foundation steps for each one of those lands and the things we are seeking to achieve in each one. What are the 8 core principles? Let's do those first and we'll come back to that 9th one at the very end. Principles. 1. Start with readiness. 2. Succession is not retirement. 3. Set your goals before commencing the journey. 4. Harmony is a must. 5. Plan early, start earlier. 6. Equality is not equal. 7. Ask before you get lost. And number 8. Price is not first. Some of these are pretty much common sense, but it's important we just flag them, we signpost them, because as we're making decisions and as we're seeing things happening and as we're looking through the journey, it's important we go, yes, we're still following that signpost, we're still following that guiding principle, because if we don't, we will fall, we will falter. So let's go through each one and just see what each one of these guiding principles gives us by way of messaging. The first one, start with readiness. Succession is a significant capital transaction, should be viewed in this context. It is the most important capital transaction you will undertake. And if you think of anything where you've gone out and you've acquired a significant business, you've merged with someone else, you've sold something off, the due diligence and preparation you undertake and the project team you pull together to make it a success are significant. Succession is no different. It is not a back pocket project which you do when you can. So before you commence any serious journey, preparation is a must. The journey of succession, no different. The incumbent team, the next generation team, they've got to get ready for this. They've got to get their head around what in actual fact it involves. There's got to be a clear start, not a dribbling. We'll talk about it next year. A clear start, and then the project is on foot. It is a critical change management program. It should be seen in that way. It needs clear process. It needs a committed start. It needs monitoring. So you're going to have a formal process. You're going to have a timetable. You're going to monitor it. You're going to commit the resources and you're going to go forward. Start with readiness. You'll be surprised how many succession processes falter because they never actually get off the ground. We'll come back to that. It's principle 1, start with readiness. Principle 2, succession is not retirement. This is such a barrier if this is not put in the right perspective. This is about getting your head in the right place. Not only your head, but everyone else's heads. The family, the advisors, other stakeholders, everyone getting their head in the right place. All on the same page. Succession is not about getting old, stepping down, surrendering, giving up, not being able to contribute anymore. It's nothing to do with any of that. If that's where your head is, scrub all of that and start it clean. They are negative beliefs which will undermine and stop the succession process. You and everyone who supports you in this process must see succession as about being the evolution of the business. It is about growth, opportunity, and building the future while you are there today. It's about the incumbent team taking responsibility for future-proofing the capital value of the business and also ensuring that the next team is capable, competent, and experienced to take the business to the next level. Succession is the legacy you leave. Coming up on the screen is just a list of stakeholders. If we just spend a moment, we look at that and see the scope of all the people who are going to be touched by your succession process. All of those people need to have their head in the right space. So communication of what the principles are, the setting of the right goals to express that become quite important. Principle 2, succession is not retirement. Principle 3, set your goals before commencing the journey. If you don't know where you want to get to at the summit, then it's going to be a bit hard to get there. I think we all understand that. So establishing and setting your goals before you commence cannot be overemphasized. You actually write them down. You actually have a sheet which says our goals. It is a contribution from many of the people in that stakeholder group. It is about the incumbents. What do they wish to achieve? It's about the possible new generation. What do they wish to achieve? It's about the realities of what we can achieve. It is about the things we need to do to achieve compounding of wealth, unity, growth, contribution. They must be clear, they must be measurable, they must be compelling. There must be stepping stones which show how we achieve them. There must be a sense of that. The goals you establish before you commence will instruct and guide everyone participating in the process. They provide motivation, they act as a lighthouse, they provide a basis for an agreement and an intent by all involved in the process of what we're seeking to achieve. It provides a clear path for delivery, those stepping stones. It serves as a benchmark. Are we actually achieving and delivering what we wanted to, the goals? And for our external advisors, it becomes a very clear focus for them. This is our succession process. This is what we're seeking to achieve. So when you step into that land of goals, setting those goals with your independent succession advisor is critical. Principle 3. Coming up on the screen now, you can just see just a very simple set of goals. The goal, the compelling reason, the result and the outcome. You may start with something as simple as this and you'll begin to build it as you go forward and break it out and detail it. Goals are not locked in concrete when you first set them. They're the guideposts again to allow you to go forward, and typically you expand upon them. Principle 4, harmony is a must. Achieving harmony is really about leadership, it's about communication, it's about what you bring to the table in terms of what this process is about and how you're seeking to achieve it. It's expressed in your goals in some way, but it's about creating, sustaining and enhancing harmony through the succession process. This is the outcome you must achieve. It's vital. If you don't do it, your succession process will falter, and if not in this generation, the next generation, and the wealth will be lost. Harmony. It's about communicating well and openly. It's about listening, actively listening to what people are saying and appreciating their positions. It's about actively inviting contribution. It's about updating people, but it's allowing people to feel this sense of contribution. I am actually being heard. I am one of the stakeholders. I am one of the family members. My views, my opinions are being heard. They're being honoured. It also allows you to keep absolute focus on those initial goals, because as you're seeking harmony, the goals are in the centre and you're asking everyone to speak into them. And that just gives you that central point to step forward from. It gives you a way to connect and communicate with people. What are we talking about? The goals we are setting. It is about integrity, it is about truth, it's about openness, it's about frankness, it's being able to have the difficult conversations. Again, your independent succession advisor will be a key person because they can walk in and have discussions with all the different family groups, the different stakeholder groups, then draw all of that to the table. There is a process in developing the family charter, a whole series of questions which you ask, which you have each individual complete. At that incumbent level, each one of it completes it, and then you bring it together and you see where the disconnects are and where the affirmations are. For the next generation, exactly the same thing. Doesn't matter how many families there are, each one completes, you bring it all together. It gives you a very clear opening snapshot of where any tension areas are and allows people to begin to contribute and to feel part of the process. Achieving harmony is about seeking certainty about the process and the future. It's about having a process which people can see and understand and follow, and to know that is how things are going to be done. Harmony is a must. Principle 4. Principle 5, plan early, start earlier. And we've spoken about this previously. If there was a single piece of advice for those who had completed the succession process and were looking back and were being asked to answer the question, what would you do again in a different way? Their answer was, start early. Start as early as you can, was their advice. They would start their processes earlier. Time is a real luxury in one sense, but time allows you just to work your way through things and to get them at a better level. You don't want to be rushing the succession process. You cannot start succession planning too early, bearing in mind that succession is about business continuity, ongoing jobs, building the capital value of your business. It's not just about where you're going to pass something to. It's a lot more than that, because you're seeking to compound wealth. It is about identifying the stepping stones. It is about articulating the goals. It is about understanding the challenges which are going to be there. It is about bringing everyone in that stakeholder group we saw before on the journey with you. It's about understanding the financial requirements of the business and the families involved in it, for this generation and for the next generation. It is about building the capacity of that business to create the wealth which will be necessary to support the families as they go forward. For example, plan early, start earlier, don't leave it until the end. If you do, you only diminish your wealth. Principle 6, equality is not equal. Say that again. Equality is not equal. How can equality not be equal? What the principle is basically saying is, equality doesn't mean everyone gets the same amount. That's not necessarily equality. Just turning around and saying, here's the pie, let's cut it in 6 parts, everyone's got 1/6, everyone is now equal. No, it does not work that way. That is not equality, that is not fairness, that will not necessarily underpin harmony. Achieving equity can be challenging. Again, going back to that research which was undertaken and listening to people, and just listening to people in the succession process as they're going through it, from experience, the way in which you divide the wealth up across family lines and finding that fairness is really challenging. Because you have certain family members saying, can I have this? Others saying, can I have this? And others saying, I honestly want no part of this. And finding that sense of, have I done the right thing by everyone, can become quite difficult. So equality is not equal is about finding the right balance of what? Participation, ownership, control, actual distribution of wealth, who is involved in the businesses, the active businesses which are running, who are not involved, who wants to be involved, who does not want to be involved, what gets paid out to those who want nothing to do with the businesses, what happens to those who are in the businesses, what is equity for them. It starts with setting principles. What are the principles which we believe will underpin fairness across the family in this next generation, and also our generation, because we're the ones who have built it and stepping away from it? What are the principles? And then once the principles have been established and have been circulated, communicated and discussed, then you look at how those dollars work. You in actual fact don't do the opposite. You don't go straight to the dollars. Establish the principles, get a sense of what is fair, then run your sums, then finalise them. Wealth must be allocated in the future. It has to be allocated in a way which will underpin and support family harmony. You must seek a fair basis on historical and future contribution, but just fairness. It's going to require you to involve early and openly all family members and seek their thoughts on what is fairness. It's going to require you to establish, explain, and seek contribution as you're doing that on the principles by which you will allocate wealth, make your decisions. You have to determine the impact of those decisions and look at the sums and see whether there's anything which has come out in a way which was not your intention. It requires open dialogue, keeping everyone informed and maintaining that dialogue, not allow people to feel something is happening which is not being involved in. It's an area in which you must include your partner, your spouse, in these discussions. 1, they're a participant, but 2, they're Advice, you will find, is usually quite valuable, and they can be an active supporter to bring all family members along with that. They can have the discussions, which sometimes others in the family can't have. You'll need to make a decision. It needs to be fair, it needs to be communicated clearly, and you need to move forward from that. Equality is not equal. It is a complex, possibly, area to go into, but just remember, it doesn't mean I divide equally. It doesn't quite work that way. Principle 7, ask before you get lost. It's one of the principles, one of the underlying themes which again came out from the research. It's about early consideration of issues, it's about forward planning, it's about clear processes, it's about independent objective thought, it's about mediation, it's about communication, it's about the need for someone who has experience in succession who can act as your guide. One of the things which came from the research, which I just mentioned, is families turning around and saying, we thought we'd just do this by ourselves because we're experienced business people, we can talk to each other, we can work this forward, we don't need someone to come in and to help us with this. But what they found as they started the process and as they started to have the discussions was the exact opposite. We're actually not too sure what we're doing, we don't know how to deal with these things, we don't have a clear map to follow, a journey, and there's discussions which are becoming uncomfortable, and it'll be better if someone else had them and then brought those discussions together. Independent succession advisor. So what they said is we found that having an independent succession advisor was one of the most important decisions we made. It made the process move much quicker, much more effectively, a lot more confidence in what we're doing, easier communications, better outcomes. So finding this independent succession advisor, recruiting them early, retaining them to run the succession process, allowing to be the independent voice for you and across the family, and to bring all the feedback and all the comments into a central point is critical. Also, the things you've got to do is establish your goals. They become a lighthouse of where you're going to. And this independent succession advisor, they're unlikely to be someone who's sitting on the table with you now. They're not going to be one of your existing advisors. They're going to be someone who is independent. They need to be experienced commercially, understand families, be a good communicator, have a succession process and understand that process. Your accountants, your auditors, your taxation advisors, your lawyers will all be independent advisors who will come together to support that succession advisor. But if you bring a lawyer in, they look at it a certain way. If you bring an accountant in, they look at it a certain way. If you bring an auditor in or a tax person, they look at it a certain way. You want someone who brings all of those things together. Someone who comes to the table and looks at it through the lens of succession, which is about enabling the compounding of wealth from generation to generation while ensuring family unity, individual growth, and a sense of contribution. That is a very different lens. Ask before you get lost is about having someone with you who can be your guide on this journey. Seek your succession advisor wisely and allow them to work with your existing taxation and legal advisors so as to achieve the best blend of succession expertise and the knowledge both for your business and your family. Ask before you get lost, please. Principle 8, price is not first. Often succession processes commence with what is the business worth? What's the value? How much money can I get for it? Who can buy this from me? And what capital value is there? It is better to leave price to the side. Succession transition is about building the capital value of the business. Build the capital value and price is a function of that. If you begin to have these discussions about price, you tend to get dropped into these valuation train tracks and you go off in a bit of a bender. Succession is about the continuity of the business. It's about ongoing jobs for the employees. It doesn't matter whether you're going to sell, whether you're going to retain, whether you're going to split it in some way, whether you're going to keep some parts, sell some parts, merge some parts, or whether you're unsure. What you're interested in is the strength, the competitive strength, and the capital value of that business. So succession is about underpinning and growing the capital value of the business. Capital value lies in certainty. Let me say that again. Capital value lies in certainty. Certainty about what? Certainty about the ability of the business to deliver the profits, the competitiveness in the future. And these become questions of what actually are the capital value drivers? What underpins the success of the business? What's your new leadership team going to look like? Who are they? Are they capable? What are your strategic plans? Where are you going to? What are the opportunities? So you put price to one side and you look at what drives the value of the business, and then price will be a function of that. If you focus on continuity and ongoing jobs, you are in fact drawing your focus to the capital value drivers of your business, which in turn supports the sale price should you one day decide to sell. Price is not first. Can I just walk through those 8 core principles again? 1, start with readiness. 2, succession is not about retirement. 3, set your goals before commencing the journey. 4, harmony is a must. 5, plan early, start earlier. 6, equality is not equal. 7, ask before you get lost. 8, price is not first. And if you recall, I said there was a 9th principle, an overarching principle. Principle 9, nothing is done until it's done. This is the unstated but probably the most important principle, because often in succession things don't get done. Things just get dragged or shelved, or something else becomes more important. Even when you've gone through the succession process, you know exactly what you've got to do to complete it. It just sits there and doesn't get done. Put simply, all your work, all your planning, all the advice you've paid for is worth nothing unless you action and complete it. On the map you may have noticed up towards the summit, one of the dangers is falling off the cliff. And what that is basically saying is you've done all the work, but you never actually finished it. So don't fall at that last hurdle. Action your plans and deliver on your succession. Deliver on compounding your wealth from generation to generation, unity, growth, contribution. They are the principles. Use them as a benchmark for your decisions and your actions. They're signposts, but as you're making decisions, as you're looking at the way in which your succession process is running, are we actually ticking these off? If you're not, then you're creating a weakness in your process which will falter and weaken your succession process as you go forward. So again, I hope these guiding principles, the 9 of them, have helped you get your head around what the succession process needs to look like and the journey you need to flow. Again, in the slides which come up, you'll see there's an email address. If you have any questions, send the email through. I'll do my best to answer those. And you also see resources which you can tap, which will help you on your succession process. Thank you for joining me on the second of these Orienteering Succession presentations, lectures, whatever word works for you. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.